Types of data. Students will be able to distinguish between a parameter and a statistic. Students will also be able to distinguish between categorical data and quantitative data. In the previous unit, we looked at how to design a survey or experiment well. But what do you do with that data once you've collected it? Remember, if we have some question about a population, we often won't be able to collect data about every single member of that population, so we take a sample. When we generate data from a sample and analyze, the numbers we get are called statistics. So for example, if the average height of a sample of 10 middle school girls is found to be 4'9", this is a statistic. We can use the statistic to estimate the true population value. Let's say we want to know the average height of all girls at this middle school. This is a parameter. Many times we can't know the true parameter, and that is why we must use the statistic from our sample data to help us estimate it. So in this example, the true height of all middle school girls might actually be 5'1", but from our sample we found that our average height of these 10 girls was 4'9". Let's look at a few problems identifying statistics and parameters. So in this example, it says each month, the current population survey interviews a random sample of individuals in about 60,000 U.S. households. One of their goals is to estimate unemployment rate. In October 2012, 7.9% of those interviewed were unemployed. We want to identify the population, the parameter, the sample, and the statistic. Take a minute, pause the video, and see what you think. So let's take a minute and identify our sample and statistic first, because it states them outright in the problem. It says the current population survey interviews a random sample, so here we are getting our sample, of individuals in about 60,000 U.S. households. So we have individuals from 60,000 U.S. households. Now, let's figure out our statistic. It says in October 2012, 7.9% of those interviewed were unemployed. That number 7.9% comes directly from our sample, and that's why it's a statistic. We can use the fact that we know our sample and statistic to think more abstractly about what our population and parameter are. Our population would be all individuals in all households across the U.S. That's what we sampled. We sampled 60,000 individuals, but we want to know about all of them, and that's why we take a sample. Now, our parameter, they don't state a number, but because it's something that we can't actually know, but it is the true unemployment rate of those individuals. Go ahead, try this problem on your own. Pause the video and take as much time as you need to identify the population, parameter, sample, and statistic. Now let's look at the differences between categorical and quantitative data. Categorical data, we often want to know how many members of my population belong to a particular category. So for example, let's answer this question. What type of work do bedside prep students do? Let's say 21 are in retail, 36 are in restaurants, and 52 have no jobs because they're focused as they should on school. In total, we have 109 students represented. With this information, I can figure out exactly what proportion of my students belong to each category. So, for example, I might want to know the proportion of students who actually work in retail. To do this, I would simply divide the number in this category, 21, by the total number of individuals. I should always get a decimal less than 1, and this can easily be converted to a percentage by multiplying by 100. Now there is another type of data, and it's called quantitative data. This is the data I can measure. So for example, I can measure speed, I can measure weight, I can also measure length, I can measure volume, and I can even measure the number of beats per minute of a heart. Let's look at a few problems where you'll practice identifying categorical data or quantitative data. Let's look at this example. It says data from a medical study contain values of many variables for each of the people who were the subjects of the study. Here are some of the variables recorded: gender, female or male, age, years, race, Asian, black, white, or other, smoker, yes or no, systolic blood pressure, millimeters of mercury, level of calcium in the blood, micrograms per milliliter. Let's look at the first one, gender, female or male. So this one we're putting people in categories. We're not measuring anything, we're just counting the number of people who identify as female and counting the number of people who identify as male. I want you to work through the remaining examples, age, race, smoker, blood pressure, and calcium, and determine whether or not they are categorical or quantitative data. Pause the video. Although we are done, make sure to post your responses on the YouTube video.